All right, guys, let's talk about America's number one supervillain, Donald Trump, because honestly, since that verdict has come out, I don't know.
Trump is the first former U.S. president to be a convicted felon. But will the verdict help or hurt his 2024 campaign? Non-white voters may have the answer. Here's a part of what some of the callers on the popular morning radio program, The Breakfast Club, had to say after the verdict.
I feel like Trump got did dirty. And I don't trust the system at all. After you've been railroaded by this system, and you see that when you walk in the courtroom, they want you to be guilty. You're going to be guilty. How can anybody?
I think what that guy said is absolutely true because, first, when you really look at it, if they want you to be guilty, you're going to be guilty. And I don't think there's any unbiased person that can look at this and say that Trump had any chance of having an unbiased trial. There's no way that any jury was ever going to be unbiased in regards to Donald Trump. Like, we just have to be honest here. Come on, guys. Like, at the end of the day, they didn't.
Black vote for Biden. At least Trump real.
I'd rather have a president, right, who's going to be honest and show me that he's the a-hole than have a president who's going to lie to me to try to gas me up to get my vote.
And that's definitely the type of person that Biden is. Biden is on record saying a lot of crazy stuff. And you can do the research yourself. Biden is on record making a lot of crazy statements to people that aren't white. But yet and still, because he's a Democrat and because he's on the left and because, orange man bad, everybody's okay with it. Y'all want to pretend like, oh, Joe Biden is a saint and Donald Trump is the devil himself. And that's what I don't rock with. Y'all will literally push somebody into being a Trump supporter, even if they aren't.
Breakfast Club host Charlamagne the God is going to join me in just a moment. In the most recent poll of battleground states, which included third-party candidates, Biden had only 49% support of registered black voters. And in a two-way race, Biden had 63% support, with Trump getting 23%. If these numbers were to hold up by Election Day, Trump would have the highest level of black support for any Republican presidential candidate in the last 60 years. From a
Can y'all believe that? Donald Trump will possibly have more black voters in the last 60 years. That's crazy. Like, come on. Like, let's just be for real. That's just insane. And I mean that in a good way, because Democrats have been playing this game too long. They've been playing this game too long, and I'm glad that more and more black people are starting to wake up and starting to think for themselves and not just go along to get along. You know what I mean? That's what the Democrats want you to do. That's what the left wants you to do. That's what the AOCs and all them want you to do. Like, no. That time has passed.
National scale, a Pew Research poll finds Trump pulling 18% of support from black voters, which is a dramatic shift from 2020, when Trump received only 8% of the black vote against Biden. That itself was a slight uptick from the 6% he received against Hillary Clinton in 2016. Similarly, a Washington Post Ipsos poll found a 12% drop in the number of black Americans saying they are certain they will vote in this election cycle. The drop in voter turnout is even sharper among young black voters who mostly disapprove of Biden's job performance. To mobilize support among this critical...
I think that's fair, because anybody that's really paying attention, you can't sit there and tell me that you think that America is doing a better job under Joe Biden. Even if you don't like Donald Trump, you can't say that America was better under Biden. And that's just...
voting bloc. Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris held a rally in Philadelphia this week.
With Webull, you can trade fractional shares with as little as $5.
I don't think he'd be talking about pardons. It's the same guy who wanted to tear gas you. What do you think would have happened if black Americans had stormed the Capitol? I don't think he'd be talking about pardons.
They did. But they didn't, though. And at the end of the day, I hate when people bring that up, because January 6th even though it was bad, like, come on, bro. Like, it's tired. This whole narrative is just tired. January 6th was not what y'all are making it out to be, and it's just ridiculous.
It's the same guy who wanted to tear gas you as you peacefully protested George Floyd's murder.
Protests were not peaceful. Let's just be honest. There were portions of it. It was partially peaceful. It was partially peaceful. There were times when it was peaceful, and then there were times when the Pookies and Ray Rays came out and caused chaos. There were times where Antifa came out and caused chaos. So no, we're not gonna just sit there and just be like, oh no, that's just a Trump thing. Oh no, it's not just a Trump thing. When the opportunistic Negroes, the ninjas, came out and wanted to loot and rob, and when the Antifa strategically started these looting and robbings, so now you have chaos. So no, it wasn't just peaceful protests. Let's just keep it real. It's too many live streams. It's too much video evidence. Maybe they wiped it, but guess what? When you see that stuff in real time, you can't unsee it.
The same guy who still calls the Central Park Five guilty, even though they were exonerated.
When is the last time anybody, please let me know, when has Donald Trump commented on the Central Park Five in recent years? Come on.
He's that landlord who denies housing applications because of the color of your skin. He's that guy.
And Joe Biden is the guy that didn't want your colored uncles and fathers and didn't want them going to school with his white kids because he didn't want to create a racial jungle in the 90s. He's on record saying it. Same guy.
Who won't say Black Lives Matter and
Black Lives Matter the organization is stupid. So if somebody doesn't want to say that, then I completely understand. And just you saying Black Lives Matter doesn't mean anything to me, and that's the truth. It doesn't mean anything to me. You just saying Black Lives Matter. No, forget that.
Folks, neo-Nazi Third Reich terms.
And just to be petty, can we just talk about how slow Joe Biden is? Because at the end of the day, this is ridiculous. Joe Biden is slow. It's like every time you watch him give a speech, it's like the lights are on and nobody's home. What's wrong with him?
My next guest has interviewed both Vice President Kamala Harris and President Joe Biden. Biden back in 2020 when he gave this controversial answer.
If you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
It don't have nothing to do with Trump. It has.
What the French toast are we talking about here? What gives a white man the audacity to say that if you vote for me, you ain't black? But y'all got so much of a problem with Donald Trump, right? Y'all got so much of a problem with Donald Trump.
To do with the fact I want something for my community.
Joining me now is Charlamagne the God, the host of the popular iHeartRadio breakfast program called The Breakfast Club, which reaches nearly 6 million listeners a month. As you can see, he's also the author of a new book called Get Honest or Die Lying, Why Small Talk Sucks. Charlamagne, I love the book. We're going to talk about the book. You write, small talk is killing us as a society, so there won't be small talk here. When I recently wondered aloud if Trump has the sympathy of some black men, because historically many of them have had their own legal entanglements. Somebody close to me said, you can't say that as a white guy, you're stereotyping, maybe you'll be perceived as racist. But some of your callers are saying the same thing. Do you agree that's what accounts for some of his black support?
First things first, I think we need to stop with this narrative that people can't make comments on something just because they're white. I think that they're allowed to make the comment if the comment is true. Now, if they're wrong, if they don't have any experience, if they're just talking out the side of their neck, then just let them say whatever they say, and then you know what I mean? It just is what it is. Because, valid statements are valid regardless of who's giving the message. That's all I'm trying to say.
Well, I don't agree. Black people are not monolithic, so I can't speak for all black people. But personally, I don't agree. Donald Trump is not a political prisoner. He's not someone who, died unjustly at the hands of the police. He's a privileged former president who broke the law, and he got held accountable for it. And that's the way it should be. Damn shame he can still, run for president, after being convicted on all those counts. But clearly America has zero protection, for people like a Donald Trump.
Okay, in the book you say if you're black, it's almost assured that you've suffered.
That's crazy to me. That statement is just crazy to me because people really would like you to just believe that Donald Trump is just this big bad villain. And I mean, I don't understand it. I don't understand it. What does that even mean? What does that even mean? Even look at it. Even when you get convictions, just wild goose chases all this time. But even when you get a conviction, you still literally not happy. You're just not happy. What do you want? What do you want?
Some sort of trauma in your life. The justice system is certainly the source of a lot of that trauma, but you're not seeing any parallel between the decline of support for Biden among people of color, the rise of support for Trump, and Trump's legal issues.
No, not at all. I don't think.
Then what accounts for it? Then what accounts for it?
I mean, I don't even know if there's really a rise. I think some of those polls might be a little bit overstated. I mean, we're going to have to see come November. But when I look at those numbers and I see people say, 22% of all black people are going to vote, for Donald Trump, I don't necessarily believe that. I don't know if I believe those numbers to be true. I think there might be a slight uptick, but I can't see 22% of, black people going out to vote for Donald Trump come November.
And this is the problem with most left-wing medias and, media personalities or most people specifically in black culture. And you guys somehow are so disillusioned with the rest of the reality. And that's what it is. That's what it is. You guys are listening to the loud people, but regardless of what you believe, there is a movement growing of people who are sick of it. They're sick of the same thing, and they see through the BS that you guys are trying to sell. They see it. The go along, get along gang is your time is coming. Your time is coming.
I could be wrong, but I don't personally see it.
In the book, you talk about your fondness. We have this in common. We both love the movie Bulworth. Warren Beatty
Yes.
and Bulworth. And Warren Beatty doesn't feel obligated to do safe speak. I found interesting that you talk about private conversations with Secretary Clinton, private conversations with Kamala Harris, and then like when the mic gets hot, it's a different persona. They are not Bulworth. Trump is Bulworth. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, I think that, one thing that Donald Trump did that I believe is a good thing is, he killed the language of politics. Like the language of politics is dead. So, if you had these politicians who actually sat down, with everyday working class people and had conversations with everyday working class people. I mean, that's what I get to do every morning on the Breakfast Club. That's what I get to do when I'm out doing my, community work, whether it's in South Carolina, whether it's in New Jersey, whether it's in New York. When you get to actually talk to people and see what's on people's minds, when you get in front of those microphones, you'll always have that in your head. You'll always have, in your mind what you know.
Which is interesting because earlier in the video, we saw clips of black voters that were expressing their support for Donald Trump. But yet and still, you don't believe that there's actually a substantial amount of people that probably are going to show up to support Donald Trump. I'm just saying, make that make sense.
People are actually saying when you're sitting around with your team and your team is coming at you with all these notes, you're like, well, you can personally say, I don't know if that's how people feel because I saw, a young woman in Florida, and I'm speaking of experience. I just saw a young woman in Florida. Her name was Kim when I was at Coral Gables for a book signing. She came up to me and, she said to me that, Biden is going to have to earn her vote this year because she's upset that Biden didn't fight hard enough for voting rights and that Biden didn't fight, hard enough to increase the federal minimum wage. These are words.
Biden didn't fight for anything for y'all. His only real agenda that he's had a sense of urgency for, if we really being honest, was him getting rid of Trump's executive orders. What has he had a sense of urgency for since then? Oh, and giving money to support the Israel shoot. Giving money giving money to support war effort.
Words that are coming out of their mouth. When I was speaking back in January, you know, somebody asked me at Fox actually if the border was going to be an issue in November. The reason I said yes was because of the conversations that I had been having with, you know, activists in Chicago, with, you know, people in neighborhoods in New York. So my rhetoric comes from the people, and that's what happened in the movie Bulworth. His rhetoric was coming from the people. These elected officials, you know, need to sit down and have more conversations with individuals. I see them, you know, going around and they're having these, you know, rallies where they're talking to people. They should change those to town halls and actually talk with people. I actually think they should listen, you know, more than they're talking right now.
Charlamagne, one of the high.
Yeah, I mean, now what does this actually talking with people even look like? And that's the thing. I just think it's real interesting just to see the reactions of people, because let's just be honest, there are a lot of people that hate Donald Trump, whether they want to admit it, whether they want to call it hate. They don't like Donald Trump and they want to see him lose. And so they're not going to be happy until they see the man destroyed. And I mean, I don't get it. But yeah, that's how I feel. Hey, Trump 2024. Let's get it. Yeah.